All right, guys, let's talk a little football. There were two big-time mock drafts that came out yesterday, Bull's favorite exercise. But Mel Kiper Jr. and Daniel Jeremiah, two of the most respected in the business, dropped their mocks. They had different picks for the Browns at both 6 and 24, which sparked a question in my head. So let me show you the two picks from each guy at each of the Browns spots. Then I will ask you guys a question. At number 6, Mel Kiper Jr. has the Browns taking left tackle Monroe Freeling, while Daniel Jeremiah had the Browns taking wide receiver Carnell Tate. At number 24, the positions flipped. Kiper Jr. had him going left tackle first, then taking receiver Mekhi Lemon at 24. Jeremiah had them taking Carnell Tate first, and then taking an offensive lineman, Caleb Lomu, out of Utah at number 24. G, when you look at all the possibilities at 6 and 24 for the Browns, is there a bigger drop-off in your eyes between the prospects that will be available at 6 versus the prospects who will be available at 24 at the wide receiver position or at the offensive tackle, offensive line position? What position has a bigger drop-off from the talent available at 6 versus 24?
I think it's tackle. I would say tackle. But it's close. I got 3 tackles that could possibly be, first-round picks. I got Fano rated higher. Maui Noah, Freeling is moving up. But I like, if you wanted to go receiver early in the first round at a 6, I like Blake Miller a lot from Clemson. He's one of those guys that I really like, and I think that you can get him in 24. But there is a considerable drop when it comes to receiver. There's 3 of them: Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, and Mekhi Lemon. Now, Mekhi Lemon just went to his pro day, ran a 4.4, so kind of sounding some of that. Carnell Tate, I don't think they had their pro day yet. He'll probably go run faster, but his tape to me is the most pro ready. The guy that I look at is Jordan Tyson, and he's the most athletic, but the problem with him is that medical. He's had ACL, he's had some knee injuries, he's done some things. He's been injured pretty much every single season. And so my thing for the Cleveland Browns is, I believe if you're going to take somebody at 6, you better be starting day one. Like, we can't afford to have you sitting around injured. We can't afford to, training camp come around and Mikey McNuggets is talking about the tracker in terms of Jordan Tyson and how long he's going to be back and when he can get into the fold. So, but I think when you look at Freeling, I think he's a high riser, but I think he only has played 15 games or so. But he fits the mold of a very young tackle that, the Browns like young players that they can get to a next contract and then possibly be 25, 26 in their second contract, and then they're in their prime. He has the intangibles, had a crazy workout. So I think the drop-off slightly is higher. More of a drop-off at offensive line rather than the wide receiver position. There is some guys you can get there. Denzel Boston, you got guys like Casey Concepcion, you got guys that may be able to move on the board, but their body types are a little different. And Zachariah Branch is another name, Bell from Louisville. Their body types are different, but there are 3 main guys for the receiver group, and there's 3 main guys for the tackle group. It all depends on what the Browns want to do. They got a lot of different ways they can get, and plus you talk about the trade down. If they can trade down and still get one of those top 3 players, a receiver, I ain't got a problem with it.
I think their number 1 priority would be to trade down if they could. Wish list, dream scenario would be to trade down if they could. I kind of look at it as you need top end talent. So I don't necessarily care so much about which position's deeper. You got the 6th pick in the draft as of now, unless they trade down. You need blue chip talent at that spot, regardless. That's why I still wouldn't rule out a defensive player, because you need dudes on this roster. So if tackle is deeper, but you like the guy at the top better, take him. So I don't know that you should, because you just never know how these drafts are going to fall and where guys are going to go. I don't know that you have an idea for sure of who's going to be available at 24, but you're not going to know for sure. So, but you can have a lot more clarity at 6, obviously. So I would say don't even worry about, not don't worry about it, but where's the top end talent? Where's the higher elite talent? And that's where you're going to go, because this roster just needs talent. And then I would also turn it another way before you go, or maybe after you go. Which position do you trust them more to get right because they've missed badly at both.
Those are the two positions that
they've
they've
missed
been the
badly.
worst at.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't have a ton of faith either. I was listening to NFL radio. It was Pat Hayden, I think, and I can't remember the other two former players. And they were saying, one guy, I can't remember the other guys, but he's very in tune with the draft. He said, in his opinion, there's very little blue chip talent in this draft, but that there's a lot of good talent in this draft. But that after basically the first 10 picks, he was saying like picks 11 to 60 could go in almost any order.
Yeah. Those are dangerous drafts, by the way.
Yes.
Because
very dangerous.
You get a lot of misses at 12, 13, 14.
Right.
And a lot of hits at 54, 55,
The drafts
56.
that get GMs fired for that exact
That's
reason.
absolutely
Jason.
it. That's absolutely
and so
it.
you're right. You know, we always spend time talking about position of need, and obviously we'll leave quarterback to the side for now. Wide receiver and offensive line are their two biggest positions of need.
Yes.
Now they have upgraded their offensive line, but they still have a glaring hole at left tackle, and they have at least, in my opinion, two glaring holes at wide receiver. And I could argue they really need two more offensive linemen for the long term. So it's again, I agree with what you're saying. I don't care if wide receiver's a little deeper. If you think Carnell Tate is a better player than Monroe Freeling,
take them.
I take Carnell Tate. Yeah. That doesn't matter.
He has to be a player.
The only way I would consider the position in the end is if it's neck and neck. If I can't decide, they're both equal level talents. Well, I need this a little more. Let me go with this guy. And that's why, I'm not going to completely say no to defense because it seems like where the Browns are drafting that really the best players are on defense. It's not ideal for the Browns to draft a defensive player, but you're always better off drafting a great player at a position you don't need, or at least obviously don't need, or it's not obvious that you need, than taking a guy you're not sure is great because you need that position. Because if that guy's not great, you still need that position anyway.
That's how you wind up with a lot of mediocre to bad players.
Yes.
We're going to take a guy here because we think there's going to be depth at 24.
Right.
Well, now you wind up with two mids rather than a dude and then figure it out at 24 when you
if
get
the
there.
Browns at 6 are just like, if we don't know what they feel about Carnell Tate or Monroe Freeling or these offensive linemen, if they think those guys are just nice players, they're going to be good pros, but not special, and they look at Sonny Styles and he's available, and I'm like, this guy's the next great. You got to take him. I know everybody will lose their minds.
No, I'm with you.
But you got to.
I totally agree.
Now, if you do that, you better be right.
He has to be.
You better be right. He better be a special player.
Yep.
And you also have to do something still to address that position.
Absolutely.
So if you do take Sonny Styles and then your offense comes out next year and it's still bad at receiver or your offensive line don't show up, you're still on the hook.
Right.
You can't say, well, I took the best of it. You still have to figure out a way to fix that. Either if you need to trade or go get an existing player.
Yeah, I mean, in free agent, is there any free agent wide receivers still out there?
Not really, but to G's point, they did that last year. They took Mason Graham at 5 as opposed to the 2 tackles and the receiver that went in the next 4 picks.
And Schlesinger after that.
Yeah.
Like, how many times should I say they traded down and they used their top 2 picks on defense?
Yeah.
So they knew the offense was horrendous last year.
Right. And really their only option to get better at wide receiver is to draft at this point. I mean, I guess a trade is possible, but
there are some receivers that are still out. I mean, Jawan Jennings, who won't come here, I'm assuming after the stuff that he said to Malik Collins and Shelby Harris.
But there's no
Stephon Diggs is still out there.
Stephon Diggs is not coming here.
Deebo Samuel.
But
these guys
play anymore.
These
I'm
guys
just naming receivers who are out there.
There absolutely could be trades during the draft. That's every year. Guys get traded during the draft.
Right, but I'm talking about we're talking about premier talent.
Yeah.
The only way the Browns can get a premier wide receiver probably at this point is through the draft.
Yeah.
Now you might be able to get a premier wide receiver or a guy who turns out to be at 24.
It's tough. The way the game is built, it's very tough because of what the asking price is for these receivers. If you're going to tell me they got all that for Jalen Waddle, right? I think they gave up the first.
They get a 1?
A 1, a 3, and a 4.
Well, no,
there
they
was a
already
swap.
they traded a 4.
There was a swap. The 4 was a swap.
It was basically a 1 and a 3.
Yeah.
1 and 3.
I mean, if you got that for Jalen Waddle. I mean, Jalen Waddle's a nice player, but I mean, you get all that for Jalen Waddle. My thing is the asking price may be higher than what the value you may get for. Say, for instance, it all depends on how they feel about these guys. If you look at it and say it's Carnell Tate, but you think after Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson and Mekhi Lemon is mid, or they're just nice players and they're not going to be anything extravagant, then you might go in and say, well, look, we have to prioritize where the blue chip guys are. If we fell in the draft to 6, guess what? We got to take one of those guys and we'll figure out how to get that position fixed. And you may have to overpay for a receiver, or you may have to trade for something, and you may not come out on top in terms of the best value. You may not fleece nobody.
Yeah.
But you still got to address that some way.
Why can't I remember who Jalen Waddle got traded? Oh, Denver.
Denver, correct.
Like, for Denver, I mean, you could say it's an overpay, but Jalen Waddle is most likely significantly better than a wide receiver you're going to get at 24 in the draft.
I mean, they're in the AFC Championship.
Right.
So
they're trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle's now their best receiver, or
forget
1B with Sutton.
Forget them picks. That's the point where picks don't matter.
The Browns are not in the position to really do that necessarily. No. But again, if they traded the 24th pick for a good wide receiver, I wouldn't have a problem. But I don't know that that's available.
If the Browns, and I know we want to get creative. I think I'm going to do a mock draft later on today. I know we want to get creative. But if you come out of here and you say, we drafted our starting number 1 receiver and we drafted our left tackle in the first round, I don't think anybody has no problems with that.
Right.
Like,
well, they got to be hits.
As long as they are hits, if you can come away with a receiver in the first round and they come out and they say, based on their evaluations, these two, because I want to see what they say, these guys got to be starters. Ain't none of that, we're going to work them in slow. No, if you're going to take Freeling, he has to be able to play.
Of course.
Tony, I think I was reading an article I did on Ultimate Browns. Tony Grossi talked about kind of slow playing them and walking them into the situation because they still got DeJuan Jones a little bit.
What? The talk on Freeling had been that he's not ready and he's a developmental guy.
Yeah.
But DeJuan at left, like the Browns already said, DeJuan at left tackle was a disaster.
I'm sorry. If I'm drafting a guy at 6,
he got to play.
He better play right away.
Yeah. He has to play.
Except for maybe quarterback, which they're probably not going to do. If I'm drafting a wide receiver or an offensive lineman tackle at 6, he better be ready to play.
Gee, question for you. Tevin Jenkins has played left tackle in the past. Is there a way, if they take Freeling and say he's not ready, and I agree with you guys, if you take your guy at 6, you better be ready to play. Is there a world where Tevin Jenkins is the Browns' starting tackle next year?
I don't
like doing drugs before the
guard
draft
or something.
Yeah,
I'm just asking out loud.
I don't. Man, they signed him as a guard. Your plan is faulty if you sign somebody at guard and then you all of a sudden you talk about him at tackle. No, we can't.
I'm not even sure he's a starter for them. Definitely last year.
Jenkins?
Yeah,
he is. I think he is.
Definitely.
Well, yeah. I mean,
what about Zinter? I mean, not Zinter? Whippler.
What about him?
You're telling me it's not possible that Whippler starts instead of him?
If he does, all right, cool. But like, I don't think
play Elton Jenkins at the other guard.
I think if they felt comfortable with Whippler at guard, they probably don't re-sign Jenkins. But the fact that they upset the apple cart to the extent that they did with benching Wyatt and all that just to get Tevin on the field because they felt Tevin was better than Wyatt at the end of last season and they wanted to get a look at him. Yeah. I said like they're going to re-sign Tevin.
I don't think he's a sure thing to be a starter, but we'll see.
I think he's pretty close.
And maybe they draft a guard late and that guy ends up being really good.
Oh no, I would let me stop playing around. I wouldn't be mindful or wouldn't mind at all if you gave me. I need 2 linemen and 2 receivers.
Oh yeah.
Like I need, and by the way, this is gaining some steam. If there's a running back available that I like, I would not mind drafting a running back. That you need, like you said, we completely agree on this. You can't have enough ball players. You can't. You cannot have enough bodies out there because you look at Samson. I mean, he's a third down. He's a third down receiving back. He's not you saw what happened when they needed to run the ball later in the season. They had to bring 2 guys off the street, basically. Put in the game. So, like he's a nice third down back, but you got to have at least a couple more of those guys. But whoever they get at 6, at least at Mason Graham, they got Mason Graham at 5. And the thing I can say with him, and I've always said it, he got 17 games, 17 weeks to play. He started all those games. He got the experience. He did get hurt. He's going to get stronger. And at least he has that plug and play.
And he's a good player.
And he's a good player.
Will he be worth that pick?
We shall see.
We shall see. He's got to become a star.
Bare minimum.
He's a good player, at least.
Bare minimum, that person needs to do exactly what Mason Graham did. You got to start all the games, show me something, and be good.